Awesome. Thanks, Ron. And I really appreciate you saying all of that. Just really quickly, I'll give y'all a background on me. So when I came out of college, I started working for the Illinois EPA. So I was a state employee and I did a lot of program building and I had special emphasis in e-waste and other types of waste streams. And then about a year and a half ago, I came to the federal side. So I moved from Illinois down here to Texas to work for Region 6. So that's kind of just what I've been doing in the last 4 or 5 years since graduating college. And so I just have like a state and federal perspective here that I'll be able to share with y'all. So we're going to talk about the EPA's national recycling strategy and the infrastructure law, how that plays into it. And that does involve education and outreach as well as recycling infrastructure and what we're going to touch on today. Okay, so for today's topic, really, like I said, we're going to just talk about some things from the bipartisan infrastructure law. We're going to share information on what the EPA has been doing for the last couple of years and how we're trying to transition to that circular economy, how the bipartisan infrastructure law and the national recycling strategy fits into that. And we're going to talk a little bit about the grant opportunities that are currently available or were currently available. A lot of that has closed at the moment, but we're still going to go over it. Super important. There's unprecedented funding out there right now that we've been able to have access to thanks to that bipartisan infrastructure law. So more specifically, we're going to look at recycling education and outreach. I'm going to take some time and show you all the model recycling toolkit that I think is kind of cool. Talk about the grants and a little bit on batteries as well. All right, so a little bit of background on the key drivers that have been shaping our work here at EPA. So we've had various pieces of legislation related to recycling and food waste reduction that have come into play, as more specifically about 25 pieces of legislation. Within those legislative proposals, we've been directed to do things like develop a recycling strategy. That was back in 2020, which feels like a lifetime ago, but a lot has happened since then. Also, there's the Save Our Seas Act, which was also from 2020. That more specifically focuses around plastics, plastic pollution, and strategies to deal with that. We've been directed to collect data on recycling and single-use plastics, as well as issuing grants and undertaking other efforts to support recycling throughout the communities in the U.S. Okay, and again, this feels like a long time ago, but this was pretty big for us. We had our national recycling strategy released on America's Recycle Day back in November 15th, 2021. This is a fairly lengthy document. I can give links to it. Ron can share that after the fact, but it's a pretty interesting document to go through, has a lot of good information on it about circular economy and where we want to what areas we want to pursue and what we're looking at for dealing with recycling and being able to feed waste back into the production stream. Oh, and really quick, sorry, I did forget, just so people kind of know what we're talking about when I say circular economy, it's really just an economic model that's based on reuse and regeneration of material as a means for like more sustainable production. So taking items that might be destined for landfill and kind of feeding them back into the loop of economy and production so that we can turn it into something new. And there's a lot of products that already do that. I know sometimes they turn like certain plastics into park benches, and there's all kinds of examples out there that fit into circular economy and what we mean by that. Okay, so the scope of the national recycling strategy. So it's focusing on enhancing the national municipal solid waste, otherwise what we know as household recycling system, waste that comes from the household, identifying stakeholder-led action so we can create something that's more resilient and more effective for our municipal solid waste recycling system. However, we do acknowledge that recycling is only really one part of what's needed to achieve a circular economy. And we're committed to developing additional strategies around certain types of waste. Okay, and I really like this graphic. Headquarters created this. So on the left hand here, you see the bipartisan infrastructure law. So we're getting money from that, and I'll go into more on how much we're getting but that funds solid waste infrastructure for recycling, recycling education and outreach, and then battery collection. So, and then through the bipartisan infrastructure law, we're informing these grant programs through the National Recycling Strategy. And that National Recycling Strategy that we just talked about, it's going to have different series in it related to other types of waste. So plastics is one of them, food waste, critical minerals and electronics, built environment. So think of like construction and demolition debris, and textiles. So clothing, fibers, etc. I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think plastics is done and they've been working on food waste and organics. I would assume the plastic strategy, it's probably in like a review phase and getting comments on and things like that, because it's quite a lengthy process to have these documents come out. But it'll talk about plastics, where we stand, where we're trying to go, issues, solutions. So those more specific series will come through and provide us more information. And then let's move on. And of course, objectives of National Recycling Strategy are we want to improve markets, increase collection of materials that can be recycled, most importantly, reduce contamination too, and enhance policies to support that, as well as standardizing measurement and increasing data collection. All right, so we're gonna get into the grants now. So under the bipartisan infrastructure law, we have grant funding from 2022 to 2026. So that's over about a 5-year period. And it'll be $55 million a year for solid waste infrastructure for recycling. And we call that, if you hear me refer to acronyms later in the presentation, that's SWIFR. So that's what we call it. And then $15 million a year for education and outreach on waste prevention and recycling. We call that RIO. And we do have ways that you can kind of stay connected and stay up to date on that. Okay, so if we take $55 million a year from 2022 to 2026, total funding for that is $275 million. Again, that's gonna make improvements to our recycling infrastructure. I will say though that for this grant money, it is not open to everyone. These are the eligible entities for that. So it's going to be states and political subdivisions of states. So think townships, cities, parishes. That's kind of what we mean by a political subdivision of a state. Of course, the territories are also eligible. Territories like Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Guam, etc. District of Columbia falls into eligibility, as well as different tribes. And some formal tribal reservations, Alaska Native villages, and intertribal consortia. So this is not available to everyone, but we'll talk more about the education and recycling grant, and that has more eligible applicants for it. And this is the updates on that. So states and territories, I should say this was broken up into 3 different sections. So the states and territories, that is a non-competitive grant. And when I say that it's non-competitive, what that means is we're allowed to help the states with their work plans. We're allowed to give them feedback. If something is competitive, we are not allowed to do that. So we can't, if somebody says, hey, is this a good work plan? Is this a good project that we're trying to get through for a grant? We can't give any type of feedback on that. We can basically just tell you what the rules are for the grant, and that's honestly about it if it's competitive. But for the states and territories, it is non-competitive. So we were able to do that and help them out with that. And we were assigned to our own states. So the applications did close back in February, so that's over with. And I will say all 50 states came in for money. So where we're kind of at in that is the states submitted their work plans to headquarters, and Headquarters distributed our states to us. So we went through a scoring process. Both headquarters scored them, and us within the region who work in the sustainable materials management, we scored those work plans. I can't really get much into the scoring process as we haven't even shared the scores yet with our states. But I will say we scored it, and based on the scoring, you get a certain allocation of money, which we're about to let the states know pretty soon what those allocations are. I think it's anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000, depending on the score. And then after they get those allocations, they will start on the grant application work. That'll be probably April, May is when they'll be doing that. There's a lot of different things you have to turn in for a grant here at the EPA. We'll allow them to do revisions on those. Again, since it's non-competitive, we can offer them help, allow them to do that. And then I think in the summer/fall is when the completed awards will be completed, and we'll be able to send that money out to them. And down to political subdivisions, the applications for this also closed on February 15th. They expect about 25 awards to come from that, and it'll be nationally. I think it's at least one award per region. The base amount for what the applicants had to ask for was it could be anywhere from $500,000 to $4 million is what they could ask for. Awards are expected summer of 2023. I will say though, keep in mind for these that for the grants, we're just working on a 2-year time frame right now. So once the 2 years is over, then we'll go into the last 3 years and award more money. So what I'm showing you right now here is not all the money that will be available. There will be another round of grants coming up in a couple years. And then people can come in with new projects, or they can basically ask for more money for a current project that they're doing. Like if a state wants to come back in after 2 years and says, hey, we need more money for the current project we were doing under the first round of money, they can do that. And then we have tribes and intertribal consortia. They expect about 60 awards to come out of that. The base amount was $100,000. The maximum was $1.5 million. Those applications are actually open for a few more days. I will say they haven't told us yet how many headquarters hasn't, because we will not be grading I think we will be grading the political subdivisions, or I shouldn't say grading, but we will be working on the grants for them. I don't think we will be for the tribes, but they have not told us how many applications in total came through for those. So I'm not sure. But they will award 25 awards for political subdivisions, 60 for tribes. Again, not sure the total amount that came in for that. All right, and on to recycling education and outreach grants. So this is going to be a little bit less than the infrastructure ones. This is going to be $15 million a year. And it's basically to support education and outreach for consumer recycling, be able to inform the public on community recycling, and hopefully increase collection rates and decrease contamination. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but it is going to be competitive, or it is competitive, I should say. And for eligibility, so we have states, again, are eligible, units of local government, tribes. Where it kind of changes for eligibility is nonprofit organizations are eligible, and public-private partnerships are eligible. And these are just some common examples of what activities are eligible. So it could be public service announcements, door-to-door campaigns, advertising campaigns, information flyers, other activities deemed appropriate. There's really a lot that this can cover. And again, applications did close for this on February 15th. There will be 25 awards that can range from $250,000 to $2 million. These applications will be reviewed by headquarters in the spring of 2023. Same with the Rio grants. I'm not sure how many total applications came in for this. And then the EPA award grants and projects will begin in the summer, fall of 2023. And this is the same thing as the infrastructure. This is just for a 2-year period. More money will become available after the next couple years, and we'll do another round of grants. Okay, and I kind of want to show you guys this model recycling toolkit that headquarters created. It's kind of neat. It's an interactive collection, basically, of materials that can help states and other entities be able to create effective programs for recycling, composting, maybe anaerobic digestion, reuse. So I can bring you through it a little bit. I think we have a little bit of time, but there's case studies, training materials, evaluation guides. Let me just click on this. Okay, so it'll bring you to the EPA website, and we'll just do Let's Explore. So let's just say, what are your goals for your program? Maybe you want to increase waste diversion, prevent waste, reduce contamination. And then you can go through what materials interest you. So you could say like cardboard, say metal, plastic. And then which pathways interest you. So maybe we want to focus on curbside collection and recycling. Let's say our primary audience is multifamily houses and schools. Okay, and then it'll ask you like what kind of tools and resources do you want. So let's say we want to look at best practices. We want some case studies. We want to do market development. Let's do training resources. Okay, and then you can show results, and I'm not going to go through all of this, but it'll give you different resources and things that you can look at on here. And there's other links once you click on everything here. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. Perfect. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to go through is battery collection and labeling guidelines. I just think this is another cool thing we're doing. I don't think I have the slide on here. Okay, so under the bipartisan infrastructure law, we're also getting money for batteries, but not in the traditional sense as setting up like recycling, collection drop-offs and things like this. So I believe the amount is $25 million is going to be given to the EPA. And basically what we're going to do with that money is we're going to create some best practices to focus on identifying and increasing accessibility to collections for batteries, promoting consumer education, and reducing hazards from improper disposal. The best practices are going to focus on things that are economically feasible, environmentally sound, and beneficial to increasing the recovery of those minerals from batteries. We're also going to focus on creating labeling guidelines and providing communication materials to battery producers, consumers, and other stakeholders about the reuse and recycling of batteries. So hopefully that will all come together. This is not a grants program. This is money that's going to be given to the EPA. I will say, though, I'm not super knowledgeable on it, but I know Department of Energy got a lot of money for batteries, and they do have grant money under that. So that might be, if you're interested, just checking out what Department of Energy has, because again, I know they got a lot for certain topics to look at. But just want to throw that out there so y'all know that we are working on batteries as well. Okay, and these are just resources here. I'll probably send out a list to Ron with some more resources, just in case you all are interested, so that you can just kind of look around and see on our websites what information we have. We do have specific emails right here that go straight to headquarters, and they will answer questions more specific to the grants program. That's my contact info if you want to shoot me an email or anything.